Hi there, it's Kelly, TheSunshineCrafter. Thank you so much for stopping by. Today's video is part of Trinity Stamps Autumn Release. We have some amazing new Trinity Stamp products to share and some awesome inspiration from the design team. For today's video, I'm going to be using Harvest Rainbow. This set is amazing. It is so cool that you can do a rainbow that's all together, and it has individual layers that you can space further apart, put them close together, and you can do them in individual colors, emboss in individual colors. The options are endless. So this is really a great set, and I'm happy to have it. The second product I'm going to be using is the Thanks Cut and Foil. This is another great item to have in your stash. It's great as a die cut, and you can foil as well. I'm going to be using my Tombows, and these are 4 colors that I use a lot. They're my 4 favorite colors. I'll have the items in the description below. And I'm using some watercolor, distress, the Tim Holtz watercolor cardstock. And now here's the thing. Since I'm going to be heat embossing several times, I am taping this down because after, I don't know if you've ever noticed this, but after you heat up your paper and you heat emboss, if you try to do it again, it doesn't line up properly. So I'm using a lot of tape. I taped my mouse pad down. I taped my cardstock down, in addition to using the magnet, which I'm not using yet, but I will, to make sure that my cardstock does not move. Now, what I'm doing for this technique is I'm using you can use any watercolor markers here. You can use Zigs, you can use Tombows, you can use Ecoline, you can use anything. And I'm just adding a little bit of color to my stamps. Now I'm just zooming in here quickly so you can see it doesn't matter if they overlap a little bit, it'll blend. You can even, if you want a really loose watercolor look, you can spray it, mist it with a little bit of water, and that'll give you like a loose watercolor look, but I wasn't going for that one today. So I'm just going to show you real quick, because if I show you each and every step of doing this, it's rather boring. So I'm just going to show you here a few. Again, using 4 colors, and I just use them in a pattern, and I do the same thing for each. I think I did about 2 or 3 leaves in each color. And some of them I overlapped, and you can see here. And I think that's a really cool look. Now, the next step before removing your cardstock is douse it with powder, then take Versamark, ink up the stamp, and then stamp it right on top of your Tombow, right on top of the image that you stamped with whatever markers you use. And that way, it stays in place. It's perfectly lined up. And now you take your cardstock out, use your clear embossing powder. I heated mine up off camera because my heat embossing gun is on the other side of the room. And that's what it looks at. Comes out nice and shiny. Now keep the stamp. Don't remove your stamp, and just flip the paper, the cardstock, the other way. And just repeat the process. It's just the same thing over and over again. Now for the second layer, I'm doing the same thing. Again, I'm not going to show you the whole process, but I'm just going to kind of go through it a little quick, but you get the idea. Now the second layer, I pulled it in pretty tight, that stamp, so it's not touching the other images, but it's close. And I just used the same colors, and just sometimes I have to stamp 2 or 3 times, see it's a little light, and you just go over it as many times as you want until you get a nice clean image. So yeah, I really like doing this. This is a fun technique, and I'm doing this here on screen, but what you can do is, you can sit down in front of, have a little tray and have your markers and just stamp on your cardstock while you're watching TV, listening to music, whatever you like. It's pretty relaxing. It's very repetitive, and there's no thinking involved. No, stressing, no lining things up properly. I mean, once you line it up once, you keep it there. You go through all your colors, and then you just flip the cardstock around, and that's it. So this is I only did 3 layers, and again, I use the same colors, and I wipe it off. I did my last set of heat embossing on there. Now the thanks, I die cut 2, and I glued them together, and the top layer, I used the same watercolor cardstock so it would match and react the same. This way the colors are the same. And what I did was I used a water brush and I just added water and color down onto my letters, and then I went back with a drier brush. I didn't really use so much water, so it was a little more concentrated, and I just went ahead and added a second layer of the same colors onto my thanks. Once that's done, I'm going to heat it up a little bit to make sure it's dry, and then I'm going to add some clear embossing ink to that. And I'm just using that straight on. I could have taped this down onto like a little handle to emboss, but I was lazy. So I just added some clear embossing ink, threw on some clear powder, got that on there, and then I went, again, I set it off camera because it's on the other side of the room. And I did 2 layers of that, because a lot of times, I don't know if you noticed, but 1 layer you tend to get a little bumpy, some grooves, but 2 layers, at least 2, maybe more is nice, but at least 2 layers of embossing powder looks nice and smooth and shiny. Now I trimmed my panel down to be 4 inches by 5 1/4, and then the mat underneath, I just grabbed a piece of maroon cardstock for a maroon border, and I glued that down onto my cardstock card base. And once that was done, I centered my thanks sentiment right over the space between the wreaths there. I used my, what's the name of this glue? Barely Art. I'm new to this glue and I haven't been disappointed so far. So yeah, I glued that down, and once that was glued down, I grabbed a secondary sentiment that says Dear Friend, and I think it says Dear Friend. Let me see, hold on a second. Yep. And once that was on there, I stacked that up with some cardstock, and I made 2. I wanted you to see both. That's why I paused it here. And yeah, because I liked the way it came out and I wanted to make another one. So here's some photos here so you can see. Don't forget, this is part of a video hop, and the next person on the hop is listed in the description below. Please hop on over there for your chance to win some prizes and some more inspiration from the design team. And if you leave a comment on my channel, you'll also be entered into my random comment giveaway. I have 1 winner every month, regardless of the hop or not. I just do that on my channel. Thank you so much for stopping by, and have a great day.